The voice is not offensive. Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Hello.
Hello, how are we?
oh, I'm exhausted. I don't know about anybody else.
It's the heat, isn't it? We can't deal with it. It's so humid. I went on a walk on it and I was like, oh, I don't like out of breath.
I do have an excuse. I've just done a 6-hour intensive first aid course. So
wow. That's amazing.
yes.
That's why you're excited then. You have a good excuse.
Yes. I have a good excuse. I've been doing CPR and using a defibrillator and everything, but it's been brilliant.
That's amazing. Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hi. Hello. Hi. And Sophia, I keep seeing your amazing pictures of your house coming together. I love your style, by the way. It's like, what would you say that's your style is? Is there like a name for it? It's quite, I don't know, it's like Art Deco, isn't it? I don't know if I've just made that up.
Yeah.
Is it? Have I got it right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like Art Deco, retro kind of.
Really like it. It's inspired me. I'm like, oh, wow.
It's so fun. I love it. I keep going into the living room being like, so happy with it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those projects until you kind of put it off in your mind. I think if you can kind of allow your creativity to come in, it can become really fun, can't it? I think connecting with all the colours and all of that. But yeah, how is everyone? Nice to see you all. A few of you are off
too,
because you're half term. Some of you, is that right?
Yeah.
I
might have a little glass of red. Sorry.
Oh, do carry on.
I was very tempted to get one of those, and now I wish I had.
You'll know for next time.
Honestly, yeah, whatever you need, bring it. It's all welcome here. How's everyone? I'm just going to wait a few more minutes for I haven't heard anyone's not coming, so I'm just going to kind of wait a few minutes for everyone before we kick off with the meditation. But yeah, how's everyone's week been? Have we been enjoying the weather? Anyone managed to get out and enjoy it? I've got a bit burnt actually on my shoulders, which is a schoolboy error.
Yeah, I fell asleep the other week and I've got a lovely, look, you'll be able to see it. Do you see it? Look. White. It's not even straight. I wouldn't care if it was straight. I'm like, oh my God. I fell asleep. I finished work last Saturday and I was like, no, I'm just going to do a little bit of yoga, then go for a sleep in the sun.
Yeah, it's a nice treat. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Wait,
I was at a weekend I was at a wedding on Sunday.
Nice.
And it was just we couldn't have had better weather. I was just thinking like the week before, had it been the week before, that torrential rain was horribleness. But it was so nice. And then on Monday we went back to her because it was in her parents' garden, because obviously it's still really small, and we just had another barbecue and just relaxed in the sun, lying under the canopy, and it was just dreamy. And my parents had my daughter, so we were child free, which meant we could drink and be, you know, adults without children again.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, they've definitely planned that well with the timing of that, haven't they? And
they're in Greece now. They flew out to Greece yesterday, so they've sent me a couple of pictures. I'm like, I don't want to see that now. Like, it's nice here, but you have a beach.
Yeah,
and cocktails. Yeah.
Oh, funny. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Sorry, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Thank you.
Good.
Great to see everyone.
So we are just waiting for Janie, I think. Let me just text her a minute, and I think we can then make a start. And what we're going to do, like last time, is we're going to go and spend just 5 minutes with the meditation with Lizzie, just to get us all kind of in the zone, and then we're going to obviously pick apart some of that childhood essence stuff. Feel free with this to share as much or as little as you want, because it can be a bit uncomfortable if you're only just kind of connecting with some of this for the first time. But we will do a bit of stuff in groups, which will be a really nice way to work through it with someone kind of as a mirror as well. And then the last part of the session will touch on values, but we're going to spend most of the time on childhood essence today, because it is I was just saying to Lizzie, actually, I wish I could spend like a month here. And actually maybe in the next program I'm delivering, maybe there will be more on this, because I'm kind of, as I lean into it, I'm like, there's so much connection with childhood essence and purpose. There's so much. But for this program, we kind of use it as almost like a real kind of, I don't know, introduction, I guess, really. But I did say to Lizzie, if you want to do more on this, you can always use and bring this topic to your one-to-one. If you really want to go into this more, we can always kind of go through that if you feel like you're not ready to leave it, you know, when we move on. Right, I think I've just texted her, haven't had anything back at the moment. So if I just keep an eye on the waiting room, Lizzie, and you get going, is that all right? And then I can just buzz her in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. And obviously, like I said before, guys, if you want to put your camera off and get comfortable, feel free.
Okay, everybody, just getting yourselves nice and comfortable. You can be seated, or if you want to do this lying down, that's absolutely fine as well. So maybe placing your hands on your knees or your palms on top of one another in your lap. And I invite you to gently close your eyes, take a light gaze, whatever is feeling comfortable for you here and now. And let's now just begin by arriving, tuning in, becoming aware, settling, just parking sort of any worries, concerns, plans, lists at the door just for this 3-5 minutes, and you can come back to those if you need to afterwards. So just become aware of the outside space, and maybe just start to tune into just any external sensations, any sounds, sound of my voice, any sounds outside of the room, maybe in the room as well. Just tuning in, noticing, becoming aware, just observing, just watching. Maybe noticing any smells. Maybe you've got something in the kitchen, in the oven. And how about the temperature against your skin? How does that feel? Just watching, just observing. So taking your attention and your awareness now from the outside world to the inside world, going within. Just for a moment, just asking yourselves, how are you feeling this evening? So just noticing any thoughts, feelings, emotions that may arise from the mind or the body. And allow it to come, just gently acknowledge whatever is arising. And can you allow it to come? And can you allow it to wash over you like a wave? Or can you allow it to come like a cloud? And then can you allow the cloud to float away? Can you visualize that? And then taking your awareness and your attention away from how you're feeling now. And let's just move into the body a little bit deeper. Let's just anchor. So moving on to just a short grounding exercise. Take your awareness down towards your feet. So if you're wearing socks, just feeling the texture of those socks against your feet. Noticing whether it's smooth, keeping your feet warm. Just maybe feeling the toes gently against the sock as well. And then just feeling the edges of your feet just gently pressed against the earth. As you feel the feet gently pressed against the earth, just feeling the weight of the body now. Melting down towards the earth. And then just feeling the ankles gently pressed. Can you release and let go? And then taking your attention, your awareness from the ankles up the calves, both calves. Maybe feeling the feet gently pressed against the calves and the earth. And then up towards the knees. Now if you've got your hands on your knees, just feeling the light, gentle press, the touch. Maybe just feeling the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. And then just feeling the whole hand. Just noticing if you feel a warmth coming from the hands, you're feeling a sense of energy. And from the hands, moving up towards the pelvis. As you come up towards the pelvis, just noticing both your sitting bones. Maybe just take the weight from one sitting bone to the next, just creating a very gentle sway. Through that gentle sway, again, just feeling the body just grinding down into the earth. And then from that gentle sway, start to move up the spine, one vertebrae by vertebrae at a time. Coming all the way up now towards the shoulders. And then from the shoulders, can you just notice if you're holding any tightness in those shoulders? Can you allow them to drop a little bit further away from the ears? And then from those shoulders, up towards the neck, towards the crown of the head. And then just allow your whole face to soften. Relax those creases in the forehead. Allow the eyes to roll back into their sockets. And then just gently releasing the jaw as well. Partly open the lips. Maybe bring the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And then I'd just like you just to start focusing on your breath. Just breathing in and out through the nostrils if you can, nice and steady. As you start to focus on your breath, see if you can bring it to a nice steady pace. Maybe taking a deep inhale, sending your breath down into that belly, allow it to expand. And on the exhale, just allow it to gently draw in. Now, as you breathe deeply into your belly, nicely and gently, we're going to count to 10. So on the inhale, count 1. And then as you count 2, again, inhale. So inhale, 1, exhale. Inhale, 2, exhale. So you're going to do that for a count of 10. Just going to spend a few moments here with your counting breath. When you've reached your count of 10, just come back to center, maybe at your heart space, take your awareness there. Just breathing into your heart. Just noticing if there's a little bit more quietness within. Just spending a moment just observing your entire body. And when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes.
How do we feel?
Chill.
Yes, that was lovely.
Yeah, amazing.
Got a
Thank
really tickly throat. Like when I was doing the inhaling, I suddenly had a coughing fit. So I'm really glad that my sound was off. I took a COVID test this morning. Oh my god, is someone giving it to me at the wedding? Negative.
always the way when you're trying to. That's the way our mind kind of like. I don't know. It's strange. It's something like that. We're trying to our mind's trying to like get us to not relax. So it's one of those things that we don't even realize that we're doing, but we're like constantly against ourselves. We're not trying to support ourselves through meditation. Like our body's like itching, like it's like, do you know what I mean? They're all like part of the test of like really trying to be present there. So it's good fun. Right, everyone. So we're going to kick off today by just going quick round the room. And just sharing how much you want to share, but I guess mainly that kind of word. I know a lot of you struggled with that word, kind of, if you summed up your essence in one word, kind of what would that be? So if you do have a word, share that, or maybe just talk a bit about what you connected back with, you know, maybe what other people kind of told you that maybe you weren't aware. And feel free to share a picture if you haven't already in the Slack. Feel free to pop it in the chat box or something like that. But yes, just quick round the room, just so we get a feel of how that landed for everyone. And if some of you were saying, I think Fiona mainly was saying like, oh, struggling to remember and things like that, again, don't worry, because you might not meant to be remember right, like you might not meant to remember right now. You might connect with this at a later date, and it might kind of land. I had a few on the last program that come kind of 6 weeks in, revisited this module. So again, if you're feeling like it's not coming and you're forcing it, just take a bit of space from it, and you might want to come back to this activity. Right, Lizzie, on my top left, off you go, picking on you.
So we're just describing the true essence.
Yeah,
right?
Just a bit of learning, really, like anything you feel like was a particular, you know, light bulb moment. And yeah, what kind of, what it stimulated the thinking, how it stimulated the thinking for you, really.
Yeah, so I think for me, I did sort of struggle initially with thinking about what I was like as a child. So I did have to delve quite deep into some memories of what I was like. And also I think I did refer to some memories of what my family members said about me as well. But for me, the things that I feel described me probably as a child was energetic, playful, I was confident as a child, loving, kind, trusting, joyous, those kind of things really. And yeah, in terms of, I did think about what parts of myself had I lost, and I definitely feel like the playfulness element, that sort of, which I think you were talking, Natalie, about creativity, right? And I think the creativity is sort of linked to playfulness, and there's definitely something, I think, within my family where we always have to be busy in terms of work. You're never allowed to just have a relaxed, sort of playful moment. And I think that's something I do want to explore a lot more, because I know that this has come up quite a bit in terms of, for me, not feeling like I'm not giving myself or allowing myself the space to be as playful as I'd like to be, or as creative. And I don't know why I put up that block.
And I think a lot of that is society as well, isn't it? We talked about it earlier in terms of, you know, the seriousness, is that a word? Of just being an adult and letting that go, and it being a little bit kind of like shunned away, of like, oh, you know, grow up kind of thing. You know, we lose that quite young, I think, that connection. But again, maybe one question to you, Lizzie, is how could you connect to our inner child every day? You know, for me, skipping, I know it sounds a bit strange, but skipping down the road, like skipping, just not necessarily around people, but if I just skip, I just feel so light. So there's, again, it's like finding little ways where we can just reconnect with that. And it might be certain actions or certain colors we wear or certain dresses, you know. So again, that's a challenge to you, Lizzie, just think about that.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing I wanted to say that did come up as well was, you know, being trust, you know, as a child, you trust everyone, don't you? And there's something, as you become an adult, you lose more trust, you lose trust in certain people. And I think that also tied into sort of, you know, trusting myself. And I need to trust myself more in, you know, the decisions that I make and who I am as a person. So, and I think that's linked to what we were talking about in terms of you know, knowing your own needs and your boundaries, etc. So,
yeah, putting our faith, which comes onto values of putting the faith in ourselves, because we have all the answers, but we kind of forget that we maybe know more than we think we know sometimes. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I might come back to you at the end, depending on how much time we had around that, reading out that little paragraph of your letter as well. Feel free to jump in. I don't want to put you guys on the spot because you might not all want to share, but anyone else want to jump in?
I think, like you said, for me, I messaged you the other day being like, yeah, I don't remember anything. I did say it last week and I did sit with it and I was just like, no. Like so many times my little brother will say, do you remember when we did this? Do you remember when we did that? And I'm like, no, I genuinely don't. But I did sit down, and some of the writing, it does help, but I still wasn't really getting, I remembered memories, but didn't really get like how I was. Like I wasn't really getting anything. So I spoke to my mum. I hadn't really had a chance. I speak to her every day, but we hadn't had a chance to have a proper chat. And she said that I was fiercely independent, inquisitive. She said I really liked my own company and I liked to spend time with people, but both very much on my own terms. And I was like, oh, so I'm just a big child then, basically. I was like, that's literally what I'm like now. And she actually said, she was like, a lot of what you were like as a kid, you still have. And when she was saying to me about these things, I was like, yeah, that's still me. That's still me. We were laughing because I was like, yeah, I still do that. Yeah, I still do that. Yeah, I still do that. Because, and that's one of my things. I am fiercely independent. I don't like asking for help. It's not my thing. And apparently I was like, that's a little kid as well. So I started early.
Yeah, well, no, again, that's massive credit to you in lots of ways, because it's almost, you know, I always say to people, what if we didn't forget? Like, what if we didn't forget what we were like and we actually stayed true to that core true essence? And it doesn't sound like there's elements you have lost along the way. So that's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
Don't take that as not, you know, struggling to remember as a negative at all, because it sounds like,
no, I didn't. I was just kind of like, oh, I don't, because I know what my memory is like. It's terrible, but it's just, I'm just kind of, when you were saying you will remember, and I was like, oh, no one. So,
which is fine.
but yeah,
you know yourself.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was, I agree with the skipping thing. I do very much agree. I also like dancing in public. I had a little dance in co-op yesterday because there was a good song on. Steve just literally ignores me now. He's like, carry on. There was another person at the bottom who was just like, and I was jiving because it was a song off of what's it called? Pulp Fiction. You know where they're dancing, the pair of them? So I had a little jive, and this guy walked past like, what the fuck is she doing? I was like, don't mind me, carry on.
I love that.
But it made me smile, and I figured that was the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, isn't it? You know, and maybe, you know, you inspired him to do a little dance another day. You know, you don't know how that.
Not by his face. Not by his face.
Oh, funny. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any thoughts?
I can go next. I think I came up, the word that I had was kind of well, it's not even a word, it's kind of a phrase, a feeling of self-aware. And I think the picture I put up on Slack is very much, you know, silly hat, silly face, not caring, loving it. And I think as I grew up, I just became much more aware and conscious of what other people thought, and therefore kind of made judgments, and actually not necessarily fair judgments, but judgments on what people were thinking. And I still have a real fear of, I don't care if I get things wrong, that's not my bother. It's if somebody catches me out doing it, and then it's that kind of embarrassment.
That's interesting.
And obviously as a kid, didn't give a monkeys, you know, just having my laugh, and if I didn't know, whatever. But it's really interesting. So I'm the opposite. Having done this, I have just suddenly gone, oh my god, I'm that, and oh yes, I'm that, and I remember doing that now, and all these little things.
It's all like flowing back to you.
It's amazing. And friends that I had when I was really, you know, between 0 and probably I think about 5, and all these names and memories have just absolutely flown back just by really sitting down and thinking about it, which has been lovely. So yeah, it's been really interesting. And my memory is a little bit similar to Fiona, and I have this memory of and I've written about it in my thing, of kind of catching my dad at a really low moment and struggling himself, and how that actually did make me aware that I didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to cause that kind of reaction in him. And it was my little brother was having a really tough time basically, and in the end everything's fine, and it wasn't a really, you know, we got over it and it's all fine. But I stuck by that I don't want to be a burden thing until about 7 years ago, when I split up with my ex, and I had to be a burden because I had to go home and I had to go and be daughter again. And I went and lived in my mum and dad's loft and hibernated. And it was at that point I suddenly realized what I'd done. And made a conscious decision to change it, and it's been and my relationship with my mum and dad's much better now for it as well. So,
and that's a blessing, isn't it? Like that painful moment gave you a real opportunity for healing, actually. And sometimes we don't see the light or like the beauty in that hardship, in that there's probably a lesson somewhere, but it's hard to see kind of in what areas we're healing some of that we may have not had the opportunity to, by actually going home and being kind of like really kind of being that burden, or do you know what I mean, really connecting. It's so interesting. No, really, really, really helpful. And I think again, like the question to all of you is almost, how can I connect back to that inner child every day, you know? And what is it that, and for you, Emma, it might be about kind of not being scared to like get caught out, and maybe like cheekily trying to get caught, like maybe it's like exploring that a bit more, like, you know. And I think it will be different from all of you, and I think that's something to kind of keep through the rest of the program, really, because there's definitely the joy. I really struggle with that as well, and I use color a lot, like green and yellow. There's certain colors I wear if I'm trying to be light in that moment, because I can get I love feelings and heaviness, and you know, I'm one of those people, I don't want to, it's not about like, you know, life and death, and I don't want to have the conversation because I'm such a deep person, but sometimes that means I struggle to like live in the moment, you know. And I think it's finding ways to connect to that, because there's a lot of beauty in it. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else have any thoughts or anything to share? We will go into breakout rooms, so if it's not the place to share publicly here, you can talk this through in a little kind of mini room if that feels better.
I can go.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was just I totally relate to Fiona's and Emma's experiences as well, in terms of being that, you know, carefree and not having, you know, not giving a damn really about anything around you. You know, as they say, dance as if no one is watching. I think that's very much about, you know, us as kids, you know, or any children. Children are fearless. And I think, again, I find that it's, you know, it's the fear that I have accumulated over the years, and that's what I want to get rid of. You know, all these, you know, previous experiences that are telling me, okay, don't do this, don't do that. But in fact, unless I actually do it, unless I venture into this, you know, we don't know what the result may be. And I'm actually scared of, you know, making that first step. And then I think additionally, it's the joy of every day, or of when you're waiting for something, let's say for a holiday, or for, you know, catching up with your friends. You're really, really looking forward to the time, and you're very excited, and you know that you will be having a great time no matter what. Whereas as an adult, you kind of lose this a little bit. Even when you've got great things coming up, you don't feel as excited as you used to be as a child, and that's kind of sad.
I think,
isn't it? Because nothing.
And it's that what coming up for me is that feeling on Christmas morning, isn't it? It's that kind of real, like, you kind of really want to feel it all, and it's kind of like half the depth of a feeling, and you know, and that comes with us hardening ourselves for, you know, for the world. And I think we were talking about it earlier, me and Lizzie, around like feeling every emotion and really connecting with every emotion. I think becomes kind of almost surface deep in terms of a coping mechanism as well, because we're scared to feel. So I don't know, that really resonated with me about just fully being in some of that, the highs and the lows, because sometimes you've got to have the duality of the low to feel the high, but it doesn't feel like we allow ourselves to go there sometimes.
Yeah. Or even when you're waiting for your own birthday, you know, you used to be like, oh my God, you know, I'm counting down the days till my birthday. Now it's like, you're an adult, you don't feel anything. That's what I'm told. And it's like, well, hang on a second, I do want to feel something, you know, I do want to have, you know, to experience the same feelings as, you know, I did when I was a child. So yeah, I think it's all about feelings and emotions for me, really. And losing that fear, just that fear.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. I think that's such an important point, actually, isn't it? That, yeah, the way we feel our feelings is very different, I think, with how we're conditioned to kind of shut a lot of that off coming into our adulthood, actually. So yeah, there's definitely some more to explore there for sure. And I think with my own journey, I was just saying to Lizzie before that I'm at that point now in my own healing where, like, I've done the mind bit, I understand the thoughts and how it's trying to trick me, and now it's body. It's like feeling feelings in my body and being present and actually processing emotion. Like, that's where I'm physically at in my journey, because that's something we don't get taught to do, and there's no manual, you know, and it's actually about slowing down. Ultimately, that's the way. Without slowing down, we can't physically be present. So yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing. Any final thoughts before I pop you into a random breakout, and I'm going to ask you just to explore a few questions? Cool, happy, all good. Okay, fine. Right, so we're going to go into small groups of 2, just for kind of probably about 7-8 minutes, and I want you to explore the 2 questions. Lizzie touched on it a little bit, but maybe parts that you've maybe lost, but primarily focusing on the parts of yourself that you want to bring back. So those bits from childhood that you're like, oh, I was more like this, and you know, I really feel like that could be useful kind of in my adult life and in every day. And maybe framing it as, you know, how you would connect to that inner child every day as well could be a good question to explore. But use each other here to like get some fun ideas as well, because it's about creativity, bringing that back, but just being a bit playful with how we explore some of this with someone that can give us a bit of, you know, a few ideas as well. And I'm going to just jump in and out of a few of the rooms. So yeah, it'll be your first chance to kind of have a one-on-one, which will be lovely. So I always let the Zoom universe decide who's with who. So you might always get put with the same person, but I just trust that you'll be with who you're meant to be with. Okay, so we're gonna have 4, and then there might be one group of 3. Okay, awesome. Okay, off you guys go. There we go. Awesome. Okay.
Stuff and I free the diary without thinking about it. And then obviously when we were talking last week about childhood, and I just suddenly thought, oh my God, I think I've got a couple of childhood photographs in my diary that I've thrown in the bin. So I literally after our last week's session, I ran outside and I was rummaging through the blue bin. Thankfully, the diary was intact and it was fairly near the top. People must have thought, why is this lady going through her bin? But
thank goodness for that.
So relieved that when I retrieved the diary and found these 2 photographs, because they meant so much to me, because one of them is a picture of me with my dad, who I was very, very close to, and I sadly lost my dad a couple of years ago. So I mean, that means a lot to me.
Bless you.
And then the other picture is actually of me with my dad's father, who again I was very close to, and it's taken in the garden in Southampton. And so they're 2 very special photographs. So that was amazing that happens, and obviously sometimes these things happen for a reason. So
yeah, I believe that's
meant to be. But yeah, I think sort of going through the exercises made me realise. I spent a lot of my childhood with my grandparents. I used to go to them a lot for holidays and things. And I was saying about a really funny thing that happened on a family holiday, because my grandmother used to come on our family holiday with us, and we went to Italy in probably been the sort of late 70s. And there was a sugar crisis going on in the UK. And everywhere we went in Italy, my grandmother was scooping up sachets of sugar. And when we got back home, literally her suitcase was just full of all of these sugar sachets.
Brilliant.
And years, we kept finding these sugar sachets that were brought back from Italy. It was just really funny. I mean, it's but yeah, we had a lot of fun times on holiday. And it was, and I think I'm just really grateful that I got that time to sort of spend with my grandparents, because obviously a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
They were big role models for me. And one of the things I was saying is that I used to do a lot of creative things. So I used to do a lot of writing. I used to do drawing, because my grandparents were quite crafty people. So my grandfather used to make stuff out of copper, so I used to do little designs for him. And then my grandmother liked baking, so she and I would do all the family birthday cakes. So I'd like do the designs for the family birthday cake, and then we'd do it together. And so that's something that I feel that sort of in my current job I don't do a lot, or don't have a need to do, and that I'd really, really like to sort of connect, because I love it. I love doing creative things. So I'm
tap back into that, maybe try and do some of that.
Yeah, no, I have. I've sort of started doing little bits and pieces. I used to, well, I still do. I used to do photograph albums, like for family birthdays and things.
I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna jump into another room, but I didn't interrupt you talking. That's all.
That's right. Sorry.
And then also we have a colleague who who's in her 50s, and she says, "Oh, I feel like a gran now," compared to all the graduates that we mostly have in our team, and you feel like, oh God,
Yeah, no, that's a good point actually, because most people that I work with are ages with me or older. So I guess if I was so maybe that's why, if you see but you see people and you think, how old are you in the street? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because I was having this conversation with someone recently, when you used to be like, oh my God, 30 is so old, and then you're like, and people used to go, no, it's just a mind, like it's just a number, it does, you don't feel it. You'd always be like, okay. But it's so true. It's so funny. We got into age. We've digressed.
That's okay, don't worry. I just trust sometimes it's you don't. There's not always sticking. You don't have to stick to the prompts here. It's just nice to connect you guys to actually each other as well with some of this, because I think we can get in our own head about some of it and be hunting for the answers. And I think sometimes it's just bringing that lightness back. Really.
Yeah, exactly. So we're at, what do you think you've lost, Maria?
good question. Apart from this carelessness and sticking on
Dancing
my
like no
tongue.
one's watching. Have you lost that? Do you still dance like no one's watching?
Do you know what? I think I've lost some of the company that was supporting me in going dancing and just dancing the night away. I won't go to a club by myself these days, and even when I do go there with my friends, I totally feel that I'm very self-conscious. I remember myself, the best disco I was at when I was 13, and I went there with my big sis and her boyfriend at that time, and we were dancing away like the night away, and people were coming up to me saying, "Oh my God, you're so energetic, you're so full of beans, it's so contagious, we love you." And those were total strangers.
So you're
Yeah,
That's so
brilliant.
nice though, isn't it? I love that. It's so nice.
Absolutely. So, and then
maybe it isn't dancing, it might not be. And again, if there's a barrier around dancing and not being able to at the moment, I wonder how there's other ways you can.
What about colouring, like colouring books? You know you get adult colouring books and they're just super pretty, but I think colouring kind of just reminds me of being little. You know how you would just get handed a crayon or a pencil and be like, shut up.
Yeah.
I've got those. Yeah. I've got those, a couple actually.
Do you think the dancing and stuff could be like, because you were saying you're aware of your age, do you think that could be something?
No,
or do you think it's just a general awareness of there's other people?
It's more around my confidence, I think, self-confidence rather than age. Yeah. Because I used to think that I was, great at dancing, and because I've not danced in such a long time, I now feel that I don't own the dance floor, and I want to own it.
I know what you mean, actually. I know what you mean, because I was someplace and there was music on and I just thought, oh my God, I feel so stiff dancing to this. But again, it's like, we used to just be like, woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it?
There's something, like you said, you would do it without thinking, right?
Yeah, and there'll probably be a moment where and again, this is where beliefs and programming comes in, but there'll probably be a moment where someone commented the fact that you were dancing too loudly or someone.
No, I know exactly what it was.
And
it was my ex. Yes.
When there's usually a moment when it stopped because of someone saying something and then you changing your behavior as a result.
Yeah. It was my ex-husband had said I used to dance like a robot because my hands were up, and he was like, I used to dance like a robot or a mime. And he in his head he was just like, oh, just like it was a piss take thing, but that really stuck to me. Do you know what I mean? And that's why. That's exactly why. Yeah. Totally.
How much these especially from people we love and close to us, having the right people in our circle is everything. If you've got people making these comments and doing that kind of that behavior that's funny but not, it can be really damaging actually to us kind of being true to ourselves. So yeah,
and this is probably digressing even further, but I do remember a couple of things being like, I know you're joking, I'm aware you're joking, but I'm not taking it like that. This is how I'm taking it, and trying to be very open and it not working and not mattering. So I think that's, when that happens, you're kind of like, well, I told you and you weren't listening, so what's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's when it's you made a decision already around him not being in your life. It sounds like you've got that became a crossroads of well, you're not clearly someone that's helping me be more like me, or feel
and that's what I said to you, wasn't it? That was exactly it. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's like you said, Maria, there's something where you just think something's kind of switched and you think, oh, I don't feel confident doing this anymore. So what I'm hearing is we need a night out. That's what I'm hearing.
That would be amazing. Sure. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds and bring you back.
Okay.
back.
Amazing. I realized that everyone was having way too much fun, so I kind of left you a bit longer. Although most of the rooms I went into, there was just so many tangents going on. How did that feel to actually like chat to each other for the first time? So we've kind of been mainly in a group, but again, like all I'd say is don't forget you're all here. So if there's someone said that you're like, oh, I really want to understand that more, like jump on a call between, you know, the sessions, or each other's numbers and message on WhatsApp or Slack, and definitely use each other. Feel like, Maria, you're smiling away there.
I am.
She knew. She said she knew we were going to be chatting.
Yeah.
Really?
So if she comes up with any other words of wisdom, I'm just going to believe her.
Honestly, I always trust that you're meant to be, and sometimes weirdly, like in the last one, people were always put together. So I was like, I'm just going to trust that. And the two, Emma and Sophia were together too, and you both work in the same.
Yeah.
And I get that wasn't me. Didn't do that. Anyone, we're going to just kind of wrap this little bit up and then move on to a little activity around values. But does anyone want to kind of share any kind of pearls of wisdom or anything you think, oh, actually, that was a really important point that the wider group would benefit from? And if there's not, don't worry. I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
We found we had quite a few things in common from sort of childhood, because we both enjoyed playing the piano. We're both quite creative people, and we were just saying that we feel we've lost that part of us and we really want to get that back. So we were sort of talking about maybe ways that we can do that and start bringing that back into our sort of current lives. So
yeah, I love that. Creativity is definitely is something that, yeah, we do tend to lose touch with. And actually, I believe creativity is the access point into, you know, life purpose. So there's a really interesting bit there of, yeah, how can I bring that back? You know, what does creativity mean to me as well? Because that's a value, right? And we're going on to values. So it's almost kind of, yeah, how could I honor the value of creativity in my life? So it's thinking a bit about that, because it might be different to how it was in childhood, but you're tapping back to the feeling. It might be an instrument, it might be cooking. You know, there's so many ways. This is about feeling into kind of what lights you up, really. Yeah, interesting. Any other thoughts, reflections? Happy, cool, amazing. And I feel like with that, I'm going to move us on, although I'm very aware that we literally could stay here for a whole 12 weeks. So I guess all I want to say is I'm not closing the book on this, but keep it open and maybe revisit some of this at a later date, especially when we're looking at like our crew, our leader within, and all of that stuff, because you might want to go back. And I think a question that you could really keep with you throughout this whole program is, what would my inner child say? You know, what would my inner child say around that? That could be a really good question that you kind of take throughout the process, really, moving forward. Yeah, and your inner child probably has a perspective on your values as well that we're going to be working towards for the rest of the session. Okay, so we're going to spend about 15 minutes just working through a little activity. So hopefully most of you have seen a screenshot in the chat box. So if you can you just open that out for me? Hopefully you can all see it okay. And there's basically a mixture of words, you know, and I want you to just spend a minute, I'm not gonna give you longer than that, just picking out 5 of those words that you resonate with, that actually connect to you, that you would feel like could potentially be a value. Because sometimes with this work around values, we get stuck in our head around it a bit and the word cannot come. So sometimes just seeing a list and picking out a few terms that resonate is a really nice place to start with it. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a minute or so just to not think it, feel into it, like which resonate, which connect with you.
I can't see the
Am I
picture
just
now.
being really silly? No,
Yeah,
I can't
I can't
see.
see it.
I was like, is it only me?
Let me share my screen then, because I put it in the chat box and I don't know why I can see it.
There's not.
How weird. Okay, that's not very helpful, is it? Let me try it again. If not, I'll just share.
So glad. I was sitting thinking, oh God, am I being really stupid here?
No, me too. Don't
Oh, it's me being me.
Yeah, I just thought, have I just missed the key?
Can you see it now?
There you go.
Yeah, I think I shared it before everyone came back, because you have to be in the room. like when you so that's why. There you go, it's there now.
You're too efficient, that's what it is.
Test. No, I'm joking.
No, you're not.
And yeah, and we're gonna again just see which ones jump out at you. Put your hands up if you're done with your 5. Yeah, fab. And I want this quick, guys. I don't want you thinking into it too much. Jump, literally, which ones jump out at you? I need that, I need that, I need that. Pick them. And some of you might have done some of this work on values before. So again, it might be that a value isn't on the list, but right now we're just connecting to the feeling of this value. That's what we're trying to do here. We're not thinking about the word, we're connecting to the feeling. Anyone want to shout out any that they just were like, that one screamed at me? For me, it was growth, actually. When I saw this list, I was like, growth and fun. They were the two that were like popped out. And that was what I was saying earlier about connecting to that like inner child and the joy as well.
Acceptance. I know it was the first one, but I looked at it and I resonated with it rather than just flicking past it.
Amazing. Anyone else? Oh, Marie.
Bravery and fun were the two that
Bravery. I love that. Bravery. I love that.
I had acceptance and freedom.
Yeah.
I had friendship and sensitivity. So.
What was the first one, Emma?
Friendship.
Friendship. That's come up a lot, hasn't it, for you? So we've done some work on this before.
Yeah.
Francesca?
Family and achievement. Capable, just as I turned it off, but yeah, family just went like that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one with values because they change as we evolve, and I think that's what's really important to say with this work now, because you're doing this for the first time, some of you. Even if you're not doing it for the first time, they will change as you grow and evolve. And by the end of the program, literally everyone on the last program had completely different values, mostly, to when they started. And that was just because they connected with different parts of themselves and lent into different parts of themselves. So again, this isn't an extensive list, but we're getting into into the feeling around this rather than the word. Because actually 3 of you said acceptance, but I bet you that represents 3 different things to each of you. So Lizzie, for example, what does acceptance mean to you? Like, what does that feel like to you when acceptance is present in your life?
Just being appreciated for just who I am by others.
And what about you, Fiona? You had acceptance as well.
That's funny because mine's is self-acceptance.
So again, you've got 2 very different perspectives of the same word. So what I'd like you to just spend a bit of time writing is about the feeling. So ask yourself the question of, when that value is present in my life, what does that feel like? Because connecting to the feeling is sometimes a better guide than getting stuck on the word here. Again, just pop down anything that crops up, but that's the theme we'll be going into all of this with, because we can have a lovely 5 words, but they don't mean anything, or they don't represent action or behavior, or actually kind of give us that daily compass to help us make decisions. Sophia, I'm picking on you because you've been quiet today. What were yours?
Mine were exploration and self-reliance.
And what does exploration feel like? I love that one.
I don't know. I think it's just like exploring kind of what makes me happy, like what I need, what I want to do.
So there's a bit of independence and freedom in there, isn't there? And I think you'll find that like different words start to come in different like values in terms of the groupings of them as well, but it's kind of finding the word that feels like it fits, you know, in the best way. Caroline, what were yours that you picked out? So I know you've done this before with me a little while ago as well.
Yes. So I picked out balance and sensitivity.
Yeah. Interesting. I love values, honestly. I always say with value work, I always just say the quote, like, which is one of my favorite ones, of if you don't decide who you are, then the world will decide for you. And that's the whole premise of this work, this module. So it's about, you know, really taking ownership and taking a stand for like who we want to be in the world, because actually we become everyone else's beliefs around us, like as a nature of just being conditioned by society. And it's a real chance to like choose, like I'm choosing, you know, this value, and I'm owning that, and I'm connecting to this, I'm honoring this value, and that's really empowering in itself. And you'll notice that this module is called Setting Your Compass. So I love the idea of values being your compass, because actually you have really clear yeses and nos, right, around these values. Because actually someone, Fiona or Lizzie, might really conflict acceptance. They might like almost really obviously conflict that value in a way that you don't recognize at the moment because it's subconscious. But until you label that behavior and understand what it means to you, you can then make a decision about an action or a behavior and put a boundary in place. So I always use the example, if someone phones you up and, you know, asks you to go for a coffee later on in the week, you know, a really good question is like, you know, for Emma, like, does this resonate, or does this honor my value of friendship, you know? Because actually that's using this information in a way that then changes our lives. So they're a constant guide to keep us on track to who we want to be. And I think that's the bit we don't quite get to with values. It's kind of living them, breathing them. They become like a real staple foundation for us. And they help us say no. I love this. Like with values, like the no gets so easy because it's like, I can see that that's not good for me and who I'm becoming.
It's really funny that I just thinking, you said like, what does it actually mean behind that? And I thought, oh, family is in like, oh, my daughter and stuff. And actually, then I looked at the other two words, and I think family, achievement, and capable, actually, they're very linked together with me proving myself to my family, as opposed like, and my wider, my parents, my mom, like, not that she, you know, she would ever mind, but I always wanted to prove myself in some way. That's something I do. And actually they've all linked together, and it's not what I initially would have thought family would be. Actually, when I think about it deeper, then yeah, it's actually it's very nice of me. I should have brought my glass of wine with me as well. Yeah, it's actually something very different. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I love it. And I think the sooner we also realize like there's a fluidity in this, of actually, I liked, you know, some of you might not resonate, but I love the moon cycles, and I kind of try and do this monthly, because actually there's stuff we always want to let go of and bring into our lives, and actually that's a really nice way to kind of regularly look at these values and actually keep them up to date, rather than like, I did a list in 2012 and I think that's still my list, and it's like, no, it's not your list, you know, we're changing every day, literally. And it's okay if like you're like, no, that's not a value anymore, that doesn't represent who I'm becoming. Maybe you've got there, maybe you've embraced that value. It's about using these to kind of really up level you and take you on to that next layer of growth. And I think there's something like in society or some conditioning around the fact that we're not meant to change. Like we're meant to stay the same, like, because that's safe for someone else, because they understand who they are because of you being who you are, right? And I think there's something around embracing the fact that there's so much fluidity, you know, within us. But that can be tricky to kind of get our heads around initially. Has anyone done any? I'll give a few of you with me, but has anyone, when I ask the question, usually people say back in like childhood, we do some work on values, but it isn't something we necessarily do think about. We maybe think about the word, but we don't maybe think about the feeling.
I don't think, so you said before, society doesn't encourage you to think about the feeling, does it? Really? Like you have words and you have meanings of the values, but how does it feel to live that value? I don't think that's something that's ever really discussed. And it's only something recently that it's not on values, it was on meditation. But my friend was struggling, and she was saying that she won't mind me sharing this, she was saying that she sits with the feeling now, like we've said before. That's what she sits with. She doesn't sit and try and clear anything. She just thinks, okay, I feel like, I know with the words I feel like this, but how do I physically feel? And she said it's unbelievable.
Where is that in my body as well?
Yeah.
Where's that feeling showing up in my body?
That's new. Yeah, she's been meditating for years and years, way before, like I used to tell her, like, don't mention the word meditate to me because it's not going to happen. So she thinks it's now hilarious, obviously. But yeah, so like, she's been doing it for years, and now it's just come up. So I think it's so interesting that, again, I'm big on society wants to put you in a box and wants to be able to label everything, and feelings are difficult to label, right? So they don't work for most people.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking now when you were talking is like just peeling back the layers of like an onion, almost like there's just all these layers, and we're just slightly peeling them back, like one layer at a time, you know, and that's a constant process, you know, and it's not about, I really struggled to make this course 12 weeks because the fact that I actually think this is the beginning, you know, and at the end of the 12 weeks is the beginning, because you've got all this knowledge to then actually use this information to consciously choose and live your life differently. But if we embrace that, it feels like there's a lot of pressure that's taken off as well. The fact that we've actually, we've got time to enjoy that process of the unfolding, you know, unfolding of that. And I guess I'm going to ask Caroline a question because she's done this with me before. But Caroline, talk to me about one of your values and how, just to bring it to life for people, one of your strong values and how that shows, how you honor that in your like daily life, because this is about daily actions.
Yeah, so obviously did the values exercise with you back in January. So for me, I mean, one of my big things was to sort of bring music back into my life. And I now listen to music every single night. And my partner and I take it in turns, and we just pick a CD at random and put it on. And it's brilliant because it's allowed us to reconnect with like so many songs and things that, you know, that we listened to years ago and we'd sort of forgotten about. So music was a big part of my life growing up, and it's been lovely being able to reconnect with that. And
and that's a habit now, because I like making
it's a habit now
to habits, and that's why I say it's about a daily action. So when we're going away and thinking about like how do I honor that, and you'll do this rating scale of like how you're currently honoring that value as well. If we can do it daily, there's more likelihood that we'll be able to actually honor that habit, you know, make it real in our life, because actually that's the nature of the fact that we're reprogramming our mind almost around this new way of living. So we break it down to those really, really detailed daily habits, because without that, things won't change. So sometimes we've got to really break it down and think about, how would I honor that every single day? Or initially a few times, you know, a week, and you'll be surprised how quickly that becomes a habit, becomes something you just do. You'll be like you're brushing your teeth. We don't really think about that. It's just something we do, you know.
And then sorry, I was going to say, and then what we've done at work as part of our well-being is that everybody was asked to choose a song that meant something, and we've now compiled our own sort of Aspire music list, which has gone on Spotify.
Amazing. That's almost a ripple effect, isn't it, of like how this can then change the world around you through you embracing your values.
I
love that. The most powerful thing for me about this work has been the boundary that comes with knowing your values, because I think we as society really struggle with saying no. And it's something that we're just so uncomfortable with, and it makes it so much easier to say no if we know. And a really good question is, what's the cost of not honoring that value in your life? Like, what's the cost of not honoring freedom, Lizzie, in your life? You know, that's a really important question to ask yourself, because once you can label the cost and be like, this is what I'm losing out on, there then doesn't become a question around the no. It's just so simple. Any kind of questions on that? Because I'm not going to go into loads more detail, because this is a really nice chance for you to just sit with this, because some of you might literally be doing this for the first time. I am gonna send a quiz in the Slack channel as well, because sometimes a list of words isn't enough. You need to kind of go through a process of, like, depending on what kind of people we are, going through a quiz and like having it kick out the answers for you then to connect with, whether you resonate with that or not. And I think Sophia and Emma, you've both done that quiz as well before. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to kind of, for you guys to connect with this over the next week, and we'll share, I think we're probably going to share our top 3 next week, and really try and connect to how that feels and maybe how that is present, or how that could be more present, you know, in our daily lives. I think that would be a really good point to get to, and maybe ask a question, yeah, like, what would my inner child like love my values to be? That's the constant, that's almost an ally now, that inner child, that kind of, you know, that energy is what we can use throughout this whole process as a mirror now, to kind of like understand and embed some of this knowledge as well. Yeah, I think that's everything I was going to say. Any thoughts from you, Lizzie? Because I know we spoke earlier about values. Do you have anything you want to add? I'm slowly teasing you into the circle of leading some more of this as well. Anything you want to add from your experience?
I think for me, like, it's only really recently in my journey of self-discovery that I'm sort of starting to fully understand what my values are. So doing this work with all of you lot, actually, I'm still in that exploration process. And again, it just comes back to that whole idea that I was, well, just what I was saying at the start was that, you know, because I was never able to, or I still struggle with expressing my needs, and that's connected to understanding my values and knowing what my values are. So that's something that I'm currently exploring. And yeah, it's, yeah, getting, I suppose, finding the connection to the feelings.
Yeah.
And also being able to find the terminology and the words to describe, you know, exactly what my values are as well, making the connection between all of these points anyway. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
You know, and I guess it's really funny to see how this process evolves, because we'll spend 2 weeks on this. Is by the end of this, you'll wear this value with a badge, like a badge of honor. Like, you'll be so proud of it, because it'll be such a big part of like how you keep yourself in alignment. You know, that's what it's all about. Like, it's a constant tool that when you get a bit lost in the world, you can come back to and be like, no, like, this is who I am and this is how I want my life to be. So I think it's really, we can share some ideas around how we then get behind them and shout about them and celebrate them as well, because a lot of this will be going out to friends and family and saying, like, can I share I'm doing some work at the moment, like, through this program, I'd love to share my values with you. You know, because a lot of this isn't about doing it in this room, it's about living and breathing them in your life as well. You know, and a thought popped into my head, because I know a lot of you are having those career conversations. Reflect on that career piece of what your company values are and whether that's in alignment, because I do a lot of career coaching with Stay Nimble, and we talk a lot about using this as a guide for then who you want to work with in your life purpose too, because obviously if you're not in alignment with those values, then it's probably not going to be a match moving forward as well. Cool, amazing. So I am gonna, like I said, I'm gonna just stay around for kind of like 10-15 minutes if anyone has any kind of final questions. But this is definitely a bit lighter, this module, because I know last week was a bit heavy to kick us off on, but I do love it. So I won't apologize, but I do wish we could spend more time there. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm here. Whenever you need me, feel free to share as much or as little as you want. I think a few of you did kind of set up your Google Drive folder and share files with me. So do feel free to do that. Or if you need some help with that, let me know and I can help set one up for you. But the feedback from last time was people prefer dropping them straight into Slack. So there's no, or email, there's no kind of, there's no right or wrong, but I do send you the Word documents every week. So if you want to like use the Word document to like make the notes and email them back to me, that's fine, because I know the PDFs are tricky to kind of engage with on the system. There's a visualization in there too, which will be quite fun for you to dive into. So yeah, I'll let you guys go.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Natalie.
was
See
just
you
going to
later.
say, I did my Dharma type, just to let you know. I was a guide as well. I think I
Oh,
need that.
so it's Emma's the only room maker. That's an amazing thing. That's an
That's a good
amazing.
thing.
Yeah, I was a bit guide, 35%, mental, 35%. So a bit of both. But yeah,
Bit with
I
that.
really enjoyed doing it. So I was a bit behind you all last week, but I enjoyed the Jay
right.
Shetty stuff. It's
Mm.
really interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
You might find again that quiz at the end, when you do it at the end, is different. So you might find you're a different
Yeah.
type at the end of the program because you will go through a transformation here. So again, like maybe that's
true.
Group at the end of the program as well.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it and what he said about strengths and weaknesses, because people do, especially in your childhood, go on about weaknesses and not maybe playing to strengths. And I think that's something I didn't do as a child, and maybe I sort of deviated off a path that hasn't perhaps aligned with who I really am. And
but the first
yeah,
part,
I feel like
recognizing it, we can't recognize it, we can't get back to it, you know.
We don't know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No,
But no, I enjoyed doing that.
And I love your dress, by the way, the yellow. It makes me happy.
Thank you. I know I love yellow, and I would never have worn it before, but I'm really into colours in the last few years, and they make me feel different, you know.
Definitely.
Bright green and bright yellow, yeah.
Right,
They
yeah.
do change your feeling, they change your mood, I think, don't they?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, like I said, I'm around if anyone wants to pick up anything. But for anyone that needs to run and get home cook and other bits and bobs, feel free to jump off. And I'll share the recording too for anyone that wants to listen back on anything. I'll start to share them so you've had the link for every week as well. And I will send you the one tonight because that was meant to get to you earlier than yesterday. But yeah, enjoy your evening, guys, and thank you for being amazing. I'm loving this already.
Yep.
Carol, bye.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night, everyone.
Bye.
I was gonna stay on a minute as well.
Okay, I'll leave you guys to it.
Okay, Lizzie, shall I reach out to you later?
Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
No worries.
Take care, Lizzie.
How did you find that, Francesca, today? And by the way, congratulations on your amazing news, by the way.
Thank you.
Really, how are you feeling about it now? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm really good. I was gonna say, are we gonna record this or are we gonna?
Oh yeah, good point. Sorry,